And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Thomas James, and today I'm going to be reading again from Irrelevant Jack 6, Book 6 in the Irrelevant Jack series by Praximus Venter. His name isn't actually Praximus, but that's what I call him. I don't actually know what his real name is. Maybe it is Prax. I've never met a Prax before Prax. Prax is the first Prax I've ever met. Anyways, I'm not going to delay too much. I want to get through as much narration as possible today. So if you are watching this, thank you for tuning in. I will be checking the chat regularly, so please do say hello. And if you are listening on the Sound Booth Theater platform, thank you for your support in taking a chance on our app. I know this is free content technically, but I do appreciate you listening in and using the app because, you know, it's different. You know, you got to take some time to download the app and install everything and set up your account and blah, 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 blah. So the fact that you actually did all of that work to listen to this, it makes me feel very good. And I appreciate that because I like to feel good, right? I like to feel good. Just going to do a little bit of a warm up here. Make sure my door is closed. Get my mouth moving. And I'm just going to pop over to YouTube and make sure that everything is sounding okay. Let's see here. Yes, we are live. And are we coming through audio? Just going to test this out. Yes, we are. So it sounds this. Oh, this is great. Wow. I'm hearing myself double. So I'm going to go ahead and turn down the music a little bit to get started narrating. I can actually barely hear it right now. Maybe we're between songs. Yeah, we were. Okay, that's what's up. So now the balance should be a bit better. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. Okay. I'm back. Whoa, it's loud. And no, I can hear myself very well. Okay, jumping in. Chapter 5. Oh, I gotta turn the music off for myself. It's a bit too happy. In fact, I might just turn it off for everybody. So let's just fade that out so that we've just got the audio book. There we go. Got to get into the mode, the mindset of narration. Tune into the present moment. Fill my words with intention. It's all in the eyes, you see. You can tell if somebody's engaged by looking in their eyes. You can tell if someone's really meaning what they're saying by looking at their eyes. Their eyebrows. So put the emotion into your eyes when you're narrating, and you'll be able to evoke so much more. Even though people are just listening to the voice, you can't see my. Oh, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my eyes. But if you are listening and you're not paying attention, then hopefully what I'm doing with my eyes is helping to convey what it is that I'm trying to convey. Here we go. Chapter 5. Alien grasses crunched under his boots as Jack tested the patchy ground from Universe 20. Alien grasses crunched under his boots as Jack tested the patchy ground from Universe 2099.zrb. ZRB. Oh, ZRB. I'm going to say Z. Alien grasses crunched under his boots. Alien grasses crunched under his boots as Jack tested the patchy ground from Universe 2099.zrb. He turned to look behind him in a move that was now part of his subconscious behavior born from locating exit orbs, to find his wife and Bastion currently testing if she could return through the arch. The shimmering membrane was more opaque from this side, but Lex had no issue stepping in and out, as if the techno-magic effect weren't even there. With only eye contact and a nod, Jack gathered the party, and they moved as one toward the 24 or so alien trees standing by the far right wall of the pocket chamber. "Told you it's always pines," he said casually as they walked in formation. "Those are clearly not pine trees." Oh, this is not thought. This is going into regular alt track. "Those are clearly not pine trees," Warm Drink Alt said. Lex hugged herself as she walked. "There's always something strange about the layouts. We're both inside and outside at the same time. I think it's that there's no sky where one should be." I'm seeing some comments. Mr. Busa, 1300, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing? Mr. Busa asked how I'm doing, which is very nice. It's a nice first comment for the day. Jean-Pierre Solomon says, "Good afternoon." Welcome, Jean-Pierre. And if you're watching, I see there's a few others in the watching window. I've got eyes, you see. I've got a little eye that says how many people are watching. So I know if you're watching. Yes, you. Yes, you. Please say hello. I'd love to know that you exist. Jean-Pierre, Mr. Busa, how are your days going so far? Don't mind all of the clunking and the banging. Just seeing my tablet is running low. This isn't part of the audiobook, by the way. There isn't just a random soliloquy in the middle of a chapter that is some entity trying to deal with his microphone and tablet. Here we go. Jack tried not to fixate on the smooth white metal that was about 30 yards above their heads, as he kept an eye on the only moving creature they'd seen since entering the tower today. It looked up at them with split-pupiled eyes. The wild barnyard animal seemed as concerned as Lex about the nearby sterile wall hemming it in. When the party drew too close, it shambled off toward the crumbling ruins at the back end of the chamber. "We've never encountered such a representation of your kind before," Haylee said, turning to face the steam wafting from the coffee mug that was Alt. "While technically everyone inside Subroutine Sana is my kind, there are indeed many parallels between Ripwatch Rain and myself. Aurabox, I know this is beyond any current reference point for your world, but I think you'll understand what I'm about to say if I put it like this. Subroutine Sana is largely a collection of specialized minds all lumped together. These partial intelligences were all designed to run much smaller worlds with far less detail. These partial intelligences were all designed to run much smaller worlds with far less detail. These partial intelligences were all designed to run much smaller worlds with far less detail, individually, not complex enough to have consciousness, but all woven together. Individually, not complex enough to have consciousness, but all woven together, they approach an entity possessing a type of dream state mega-subconscious with access to vast amounts of tangled data. Jean-Pierre Solomon says, I'm having a great day. I get to interact with one of my favorite narrators. And welcome to the 21st century. Well, that makes me very happy. I'm really glad that, first of all, that you shared that compliment, and second of all, that you enjoy my work. I'm curious, what have you listened to of mine that you enjoyed? What is the series that made you, I guess, a fan of my work? They all reached the tar-black pine trees, and this close, Jack noticed their needles were more furry, like spider legs, and the bark slowly burbled with a bruised red resin. Alt continued as the party stopped near the smallest saplings. I once thought this amalgam of game world minds were randomly pulling from multiple databanks to craft these tower layouts, but I now believe they are also interfacing with climbers' subconscious minds, even mine, to influence how a floor might take shape. This is still speculation, as nothing like Subroutine Sana has ever existed, but parts of this complex space station resonate with me on a personal level. Something that I can't say has happened before. Ori is... It seems to resonate with all of you, Ori said as he took a few steps away from the group, and Jack turned to see that the glacial warden pointed his crystal staff at what appeared to be a four-armed alien zombie shambling in their direction from the small field. Alt, what you said is above my understanding, but if you tell me not to dispatch that foe, I do believe I shall never understand. It seems to resonate with all of you. All right, I'm just going to turn down my volume just a little bit. Oh, you know what? I can actually do that. How can I do that? Oh, you know what? There we go. Now I can hear my voice a little bit better, and... There we go. Just had to change my settings so that now I can hear myself a little bit better. Alt, what you said is above my understanding, but if you tell me not to dispatch that foe, I do believe I shall never understand. No, Jack said as he and the rest of the party took their positions. We fight. Looks like I won't be eating my hat after all. Let me tag it with my mining laser first, then Lex draws it in while we bring it down. The thing's cow skull jaw snapped shut over and over, and the impact grew louder as it approached. When in range, Jack lifted his epically ornate cheating sword and blasted it. When in range, Jack lifted his epically ornate cheating sword and blasted it in the chest with a thick red energy beam. Remnant zombie farmer, minus 350, HP 1.4 out of 1,400. 1,400 out of 1.4 thousand out of 1.7 thousand. Weak to fire, Warm Drink Alt called out calmly before pulsing with white psychic energy. His form's mode of attack conjured a halo of glowing shards over the creature's head that all jabbed downward into their target every second as long as he maintained line of sight. Haylee immediately followed up with an unimbued light ray to its chest. Remnant zombie farmer, minus 502, HP 900 out of 1.7 thousand. 900 out of 1,700. Let me just change that. 1,400 out of 1,700. World Tree Online, one of my favorites. I absolutely loved working on that. And I have to say that one of the things that I found so kind of refreshing about the series was that it was a trilogy. And the author knew from right off the bat that it was going to be a trilogy. And I wonder if that actually helped with the success of the series. Because I've been reading a lot about series fatigue, and there's so much content out there now that I think people want an arc. People want to know, okay, this is going to be 3 books. And there's so many just like sprawling open-ended series that when there's no end in sight, that's like, okay, well, I don't want to start on a series when there's no end, or like, I don't want to commit to a series when it might be 24 books or something like that. So World Tree, I think, did itself a service. I don't know if E.A. Hooper was intending this, from a marketing sense. But I think that, yeah, exactly. Jean-Pierre says that setting limits is good. And yeah, people can tell right away, this is a trilogy. It's going to end after 3 books. I might as well take a chance on book 1 because I know what the progression is going to be. So I would like to see more trilogies personally. Now, that being said, I do love my sprawling series. Irrelevant Jack we're on to book 6 now. This is the longest running series that I've narrated. And then Alchemy Online is going to be the next one. And I think they're probably going to be around 8 books or 9 books. I think that's what they've got planned, which is fantastic. Because I just love these characters. And I know there are some series that it's like, it just goes on, and there's no end. I think a lot of the stories that start on Royal Road are kind of like that. And again, not that that's an issue. It's more of like a serialized format, but it doesn't have the same intention as, say, a trilogy has. And I think that we might be entering an era where people just want limits. Yeah, Shanxia. Is it pronounced Jianxia? Do I like cultivation novels? Yes, I do. There's something about cultivation that I really like philosophy tied into my my stories, I guess, like my fiction. When I'm learning a little bit about, just getting like kind of life advice on how to navigate the world. There's a lot that you can draw from cultivation. I just narrated one called Virtuous Sons, which was a Royal Road piece that has been adapted by Timeless Winds Publishing, and it actually dropped today. The ebook dropped today. And the audiobook is going to be coming out in just a couple weeks, October 20th. We have it slated for release. And it is very cool. It's a very, very cool read. I highly recommend you check it out. It's a cultivation novel set in Greco-Roman ancient era. You know, like Aristotle, Socrates, you know, that sort of thing. But then there's also the gods and the fates, and it's a really cool spin on cultivation. What is the Wish You Guys Did Coiling Dragon? Is that a cultivation novel? I haven't heard of that one. Who wrote that? And what would you say, what is a cultivation book that you enjoyed in the past month? Or in the past year? Why don't we say that? What is one of your favorite cultivation books from the past year? Minus 526 HP, 374 out of 374. Here! Queen Lex commanded with shout, and the rotting alien thing locked its focus on her. All four arms reared up for a potentially unblockable attack, yet Ori was right there by her side and swung his crystal staff down in a chopping motion just over the shorter bastion's head. He cracked the chomping zombie in its teeth with a smooth follow-through that reminded Jack of a professional ball player. Remnant zombie farmer minus 113, HP 261. His attack didn't shave off a ton of HPs, but the skeletal alien's stride staggered, allowing, I'm going to say hit points. His attack didn't shave off a ton of hit points, but the skeletal alien's stride staggered, allowing Lex's quick jab and Alt's second application of pulsing damage to finish it off. Remnant zombie farmer minus 122, HP 139, minus 502, defeated. Other than the blue sheep pretending to not watch them from the moss-covered stones of the broken tower, nothing else moved. Good, Jack said, more toward their glacial warden than anyone else. The group turned back toward the micro-forest in the corner and past a hill cut in half by the edge of the chamber, its damp dirt making a hump against the metal wall. A few steps later, they came to the stand of alien trees rooted in gray grass. Up close, Jack decided these oily, black, hairy things were not young pines after all. What do we do now? He asked no one specific. Yank one out and drag it back to the space station? No, Haylee said as she held out a small hand to a sapling about as tall as she was. A moment later, the 5-foot plant vanished, and she turned to hold her big gray eyes on his. This is our world, Jack. It's an item. Another zero-value artifact. I suppose that makes sense, he said with a frown. Perfect sense, Ori said with the perfect sense. Ori said with the perfect amount of sarcasm. We need 2 total, Lex said as she reached for another. And Jack's brow came down as he eyed the other dozen or so tucked near the corner of the sterile pocket chamber. Hey, guys. Jack trailed off as his boots moved him forward, and his mind filled with questions and possibilities. That ominous rain AI asked for at least 2 strange tree saplings. Perhaps we could take more and, transplant these strange beauties back home? Jack felt both Alt's worry and curiosity Jack felt both Alt's worry and curiosity streams of emotion fight for dominance just outside his mind as he reached out toward the tar-coated flora. Strange sapling. Artifact. Value 0. Floor 50. With a shrug, Jack vacuumed up every last one into his billion-slot inventory. I feel like I should object, Alt said out loud. But not only do I know you'd probably ignore me, but I can't clearly define why this is a bad idea. It's a magnificent idea, even if it doesn't work, Lex said. They could end up like our monster orb pheasants, a valuable resource. Haylee nodded. And more naturally, not by Alt whispering into the sleeping mind of Mother Sana to alter the farm. As the advisor to the Kingdom of Blackmoor, I believe you should refrain from making any more large changes, at least for the present. Ori spoke before Alt could respond. Yes, 1,000, what is it? Oh, remind me later. 1,000 Steps to Cultivation, right? By Tao Wang. Jean-Pierre says that his one of his favorite cultivations in the past year was 1,000 Steps to Cultivation, I think, is the name of it, by Tao Wang. Does the Supers X Heroes series from Jamie Hawk count, or Jamie Hawk count as a cultivation novel? That's a good question. I would say it's got cultivation elements. I wouldn't say that it's fully dedicated. It's kind of got like a game-lit element, a cultivation element. Now, I'm not the expert on this. And by the way, this is Otaku, the Otaku Paradise, commenting. Thank you for joining, Otaku. Glad to have you here. Because if that book counts as cultivation novel, then that would be my favorite when I read recently, in fact. Just got done with it. Oh, well, thank you for listening. Yeah, I think I think it would be fair to say that there are cultivation elements. Now, there are probably people who are far more into cultivation than I am that would disagree. But based on the limited knowledge that I have of the genre, I would say that I think it fits the bill. But in a light, fun way. It's definitely not as crunchy, cultivation-y as Virtuous Sons or probably 1,000 Steps. Ahmed Mahmoud is here, everybody. Ahmed Mahmoud in the house. What up, buddy? Yeah, Ahmed is our lead engineer. If you've been listening on the SBT platform, you already know that. You know who Ahmed is. Who doesn't know who Ahmed is? Ahmed works behind the scenes mostly, but he's also you can catch him live on Sound Booth Theater Live every couple of weeks. You'll hear his antics, his funny animations sometimes, and he's the producer behind SBTL. And hopefully you'll tune in October 12th. And yes, Ahmed, I haven't commented in Teams yet, but I will be there. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check my calendar. I don't believe I have anything. Yep, I will be there. So count me in. So everybody, if you want to have like you want to experience like a live lit RPG, game lit, narrator, fun sound booth theater variety show, then definitely come check it out Wednesday at 8 o'clock every other week, 8 EST that is. And yeah, Ahmed's the mastermind behind that. He is also the mastermind behind a lot of the sound effects and the music that you hear in Everybody Loves Large Chests, Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon, The Stars Have Eyes. Guys, if you haven't already, go check out the Sound Booth Theater platform, www.soundbooththeater.com. There is so much free content. It'll blow your minds. Seriously, like just go. We want to create the opportunity for you guys. You don't need to subscribe to anything. You don't need a monthly membership or anything like that. We just want to give you guys free audiobooks because there's a lot of great content out there that we want to make exist in audio format because so many people listen in audio. So yes, go check out the free content. There's content from Pinnacle Entertainment. They are a role-playing game company, and they make Deadlands RPG, Savage Worlds, the system, and really great people. Shane Hensley is the owner of the company. I believe he's the owner, and he's just a fantastic guy. But they write a bunch of short fiction for their role-playing settings. So we did ones that you should check out are what is the one with all the zombies in different eras? Weird Wars is one. Yeah, just go check it out. I believe there's even a Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Thank you, Ahmed. I believe there's even a section on the website where you can navigate by what is free content. And there's a lot of great stuff. What else is free, Ahmed? What else we got? I know Stars Have Eyes, I think, is not free anymore. I think they're $2.99 per episode, which is more than fair. It was free for a long time. Kaiju was free for a long time, I know. And yeah, I highly recommend that you guys go check out some of this stuff because otherwise people ain't going to listen to it. So might as well. I mean, it's worth the cost of entry. Am I right? Otaku Paradise says, it was because of the inclusion in sound effects and music to the titles you guys narrate that made me fall in love with your performances for the most part. You guys are great actors too. Thank you very much, Otaku. I'm so glad that you, here, let me highlight that one. Oh, can I show it? Oh, I guess not. Oh yeah, there we go. There, it showed up for a second. Here, it's just a bit delayed. I'm so glad that you guys enjoy the sound effects and the music, because that's like, Jeff is a great leader when it comes to this, where when he reads something and he's producing an audiobook, he's not thinking like a audiobook narrator. There's nothing wrong with being just a classic orator and telling the story and using your voice to evoke as much emotion as possible. But we are of the mindset that we really can't stop at just narrating. And I say just narrating. There's so much you can do with using only your voice. But there's also lots that you can do by adding sound effects and creating your own music. And it's so hard for us to not take advantage of all of the other creative tools at our disposal. I love composing music for some of our series. I love adding sound effects for some of this stuff. And Irrelevant Jack also has some sound effects. Let me just check. Ahmed just messaged me. I'm just going to check this out. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. I don't know. So Ahmed just asked me whether or not, well, actually, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say. Should I even say? Is this NDA? I haven't signed an NDA about our future releases. So we have a series coming to our platform. I think the first one's going to be released on the 31st. I believe one of them, or a couple of them are already on our platform, and I believe they are free. It's a series called Seance by the brilliant minds of Harlan Guthrie and Mark Harris. And you can find them, I believe, already on our website, but definitely on Halloween, you'll have the first in the series that you can listen to. And it is intense. The level of detail that they put into their atmospheres for these audio dramas. Essentially, they're horror audio dramas where you, the listener, is kind of pulled in and are meant to kind of be a part of it, where as part of the meta, it involves someone listening. I believe that's kind of the idea. So it's you are the listener. That's my take on it. check it out. I could be completely wrong, but that's what it was for the one that I've listened to. So we're going to be continuing that series, and I don't know if it's going to be free. I would be surprised if it is, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But this is the thing. We want to share great content with you guys. And usually the way Jeff is kind of going about this in a marketing way is he wants to bring everything free to you guys. Or not everything, but a lot of our titles, we bring them free. And then after a certain amount of time, like we've put so much effort into series like The Stars Have Eyes and Kaiju, that after a certain window, once the whole series is available, then we will charge for the episodes. But you've got a huge amount of time to listen to the entire series at no cost. And if you do want to support us, we also have a donation option. So you guys can go to the website, download the free content. If you liked it, then you can donate on your next purchase. And the donations are split between Sound Booth Theater and the author equally. We don't take a bigger pie because blah, 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 blah. Yes, Ahmed says Harlan's Malevolent is a good analogy. If you haven't checked out Malevolent, definitely do that. Go to Spotify. I think we've got it on our platform as well. We do have it on our platform, certain parts. If you want the most up-to-date version, then yeah, definitely Spotify. Otaku says, I'm just going to read a couple more comments. Otaku says, I am blind, so audiobooks is the only way I can read things currently, and it makes it more immersive. So my proverbial and metaphorical hats off to you guys. Hats off to you as well, Otaku. And I'm so glad that all our stuff you're able to find and navigate and listen to and enjoy. And Blind Dude EDC says that makes the both of us. This is awesome. I'm so glad. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with our platform, is to make it as inclusive and friendly to blind people. So when you do take a chance on our platform, when you do download it, the app that is, please let us know. We're having it completely revamped. So if you download it, today, it's not going to be representative of how it'll look in a month. So you can download it and you can play stuff, but it's pretty janky right now. The overhaul is going to fix a lot of issues, make it a lot prettier and stuff, and a lot more, I guess, accessible. So once that's out at the end of the month, then please, I would love it if we would all love it if you listened to it, checked it out, and let us know if you had any suggestions for how we can make it more friendly to you guys as users. Okay. That is enough of a sidebar. That was a long sidebar. My goodness. Let's keep going. How far? We've only done 10 minutes. I've got to crank out more. Let me sort this. You all propose the tower floors are but the dreams from a knot of minds that you've renamed from Subroutine to Mother. Everyone out in the wide world sure has stories and ways with words. Everyone out in the wide world sure has stories and ways with words. I should have left Ivyset Crag long ago. A lot of people should have. Jack said, and then waved off the topic of conversation. We have the saplings, and now we need those skitter legs. Let's check the ruins over there first, then sweep the area as normal. Oh, excuse me. Blah. Everyone formed up, and they walked through the crunchy alien grass as Haylee turned to Ori. "Do you want to know what the word subroutine really means?" The young man scratched his tightly curled beard. I never truly thought about it. Is it not merely the name of our world? Is it not merely the name of our world? Is it not merely the name of our world? The dark prism kept her steady gaze on him as she answered. A subroutine is a series of instructions arranged to fulfill a larger intent. A collection of individual ideas that all take their turn to strike with unified purpose to reach a goal or fulfill a destiny. Wild. The pointed-eared glacial warden grinned down on her. Tell me, then, what does Sana mean? Heal. Heal, Lex answered as her golden eyes scoured the uniformly lit, crumbling ruins up the incline ahead. The sheep creature bleated at them before scurrying along the far right edge toward the back of the chamber where the trees once were. Jack watched it carefully as it scampered. He just knew they'd regret turning their backs on the seemingly innocuous creature. It didn't sprout fangs and rush them yet, but watching it run along the far right side revealed that the land over there fell away before making contact with But watching it run along the far right side revealed that the land over there fell away before making contact with the white metal wall. Starting with the edges made sense, so Jack waved his team to follow him toward the cliff instead. A moment later, they all stopped in front of an eroded drop-off with still blue water about 6 stories down. Their movements disturbed some loose dirt that plummeted past vibrant green vines, then splattered the sterile white wall of the chamber below. "Fresh water," Lex said, her small nose sniffing the air. The group turned back toward the ruins on the hill to continue sweeping the floor, and a short stroll later they stood in front of an ancient stone structure that could have once been a tower. The inside of this one was no mystery, as most of the walls had fallen to dust. Jack was the only one to go in, as the entire back half had fallen off the eroded cliffs. If what remained of the ancient structure dropped under his weight, he was the only one who could teleport to safety. Evidence of an extinct culture lay scattered as he gingerly stepped into the circular building. Ornate iron bars held up carved stone stairs that now spiraled up for a half-turn before disintegrating into nothing. Weather-worn lumps that were probably once statues flanked a modest altar with a rusty sculpture of a spider crouched on the wall behind it. Jack was able to inch close enough to the jutting back side and lean over to see nothing but a long drop down to the water below. The still liquid continued for about 50 yards before this pocket of transplanted reality ended at the chamber wall. With nothing to kill or loot, Jack carefully moved out of the way he came before. Jack carefully moved out the way he came before the stone slabs that made up the floor dropped out from under him. Oh, no, that's not like that. Jack carefully moved out the way he came before the stone Jack carefully moved out the way he came before the stone slabs that made up the floor dropped out from under him. "Movement in the crops," Haylee said over her shoulder as he rejoined them outside. Sure enough, now that they were up on a slightly higher elevation near the ruins, he noticed several patches of waving grains which stood out in the windless chamber. "We've seen insect shells," Lex added, a hand on her hilt. "There also might be more of those remnant farmer monsters hidden in the crops." Jack rubbed his chin as he considered their plan, and his eyes settled on their glacial warden. "Time to flood the field," Jack said as he pointed out a high ground position along the back edge of the farm. Haylee and Alt stood up on the small rise, while the other three stood in a line next to the overgrown crops. While the other three stood in a line next to the overgrown crops. "Okay, Ori," Jack began as he kept his eye on the shadows between the plump grains. "I want you to send out the 3 consecutive waves aiming to flatten as much of this as possible. Stop there and hold for a reaction. Got it?" The young hero raised his right palm in response. "I certainly do. In 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. Jack watched closely as a ball of glowing liquid formed in the hero's hand for an instant before bursting outward with force. A glacial warden's wave was a waterfall hitting the ground at a 45-degree angle for 3 seconds. A glacial warden's wave was a waterfall hitting the ground at a 45-degree angle for 3 seconds. 3 small floods later, a huge swath of the field now lay flat, and 2 pale, plump trilobite-type creatures the size of the sheep scampered out toward Ori. Haylee was the first to act with a pinpoint light ray into one of the bug's tiny faces. Skitter, minus 526, HP, 594 out of 1,120. Jack noticed another pair crawling out of the crops as Lex pulled the first 2 onto her. "Move back!" Jack called out, and all 3 of the front-line heroes took a step. Jack called out, and all 3 of the front-line heroes took a few steps away from the field. The 6-legged creatures weren't incredibly fast and had lower hit points than normal for floor 50, but Jack knew the tower usually made up for those shortcomings with swarms. He wasn't wrong. "One more wave!" Jack called out, and Ori didn't hesitate. This ability had no cooldown, but didn't deal any system damage. Jack watched the 2 closing in on Lex roll over and get caught up in the flow along with the others behind. "Good!" Jack shouted. Getting an early handle on the nature of this pushback ability would mean informed cheesing later. "Now hold!" One more skitter came out to join the others, bringing the total to 5. With a grin, Jack activated his Omni-Strike ability, and the pile of insects crawling over each other to get to them. With a grin, Jack activated his Omni-Strike ability on the pile of insects crawling over each other to get to them, and dealt 502 damage to all visible foes. Between Haylee, Alt, and one-shotting everything, and Jack's follow-up mining laser, the party cleared up the small swarm of critters. After a few calming breaths, the alien crops that remained stood motionless in the windless chamber. He'd ignored the dropped item alert. He'd ignored the dropped item alert tones during the fight, but as things seemed safe, Jack focused inward to call up his inventory. There he saw a painted icon of an axe that looked like a farming implement, and another representing a bumpy length of partially translucent flesh. Jack inspected the second item. Raw skitter meat, ingredient, alchemy, cooking, cannot exit. ×9. His mouth hung open as his brows tried to reach the top of his head. His mouth hung open as his brows tried to reach the top of his head. "Jack?" Lex asked, mild concern in her voice, and he manifested one of the lengths of raw meat into his hand for group inspection. "Such an interesting floor," Haylee muttered as her big eyes danced. Haylee muttered as her big eyes danced over her own information interface. "Meat?" Lex said with a wince, as if she were challenging the truth to the text they all saw. As if she were challenging the truth to the text they all saw. That's some water here. Meat that can't leave. Meat that can't leave. Alt added. Ori took a small step back. "You're gonna make me eat that?" Jack shot him a look. "Since when do you eat raw ingredients? No, I bet Ripwatch Rain will tell us what to do with these." "Was there just the one?" Haylee asked. "No. Those monsters dropped 9 and a garbage floor 50 axe. That's the first 2 quests done. We've only scratched the surface of this alternate reality pocket, but I'm pretty sure everything else we need is through that mausoleum thing over there." Everyone turned to survey the moss-covered stone building near stacks of carved rocks in rows. Headstones. With a wave of his hand, Jack led his team away from the alien graveyard and through the glowing barrier back into the sentient space station where they started. Ripwatch Rain's blaring dual robo-voice came at them immediately. Ripwatch Rain's blaring dual robo-voice came at them immediately. Oops, let me just listen to this. "Can you hear me, heroes?" "Calm down," Jack said, holding a hand to his head. "Everything okay with you?" There was a long pause before the strange tower-born AI answered at normal volume again. "Can you hear me? Can you hear me, heroes? Can you hear me, heroes?" Thank you for confirming you can still hear me. I detect no dead party members. May I assume success?" Haylee answered. "As you instructed, we've completed the first 2 given tasks, saplings and cooking ingredients." "You followed my advice? That makes this situation easier on all of us. Please deposit 2 strange saplings into my interface." Jack was already moving for the control booth, while the others stayed near the entrance. Once, among countless monitors and buttons, he located the flat black square that the station called a matter annihilation creation surface. As if he were dumping items into the chest at the end of a climb, Jack transferred exactly 2 saplings, and he watched their painted icons vanish before dismissing the interface. A whine of some unfathomable technology pulsed once in a distant part of the station, and its resident intelligence responded a moment after. Ah, breathing is no longer an issue until backup power runs out. If we do nothing, I will die first in 17 days, but let us not worry about that all. But let us not worry about that at all for now. I have opened the Oxygen Farm Jump Hub anchor, and you can now access that section of Ripwatch Station. It is there, and you will be able to utilize thermal inducers to process the raw skitter meat. Process into what? Jack asked the ceiling as he exited the control booth and moved toward the travel anchor located below it. Nourishment! After another hop through the teleport device, Jack was the last one to ghost through bulkheads into the nonsensical machinery pumping and flashing before them. After another hop through the teleport device, Jack was the last one to ghost through bulkheads into the nonsensical machinery pumping and flashing before them. The space was daunting in scale and filled with nothing but unrecognizable technology. The main activity that drew everyone's focus, however, were a dozen towering glass domes, each holding a black alien pine. The truly mesmerizing part wasn't that the station now had 12 instead of 2, but it was the fact that they were all sprouting and maturing to full 30-foot adulthood, then withering to nothing. The process repeated over and over. Grow, vanish, grow, vanish. Rain's deep dual voice came from everywhere as they slowly approached. Heroes, please stand clear of the temporal... Heroes, please stand clear of the temporal... Temporal? 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 Tempopo? Temporal. Heroes, please stand clear of the temporal accelerators lest you reveal the skeleton within you. You are creating oxygen like this? You are creating oxygen like this? You are creating oxygen like this? Coffee Mug Alt asked. Coffee Mug Alt asked, hovering close to one of the domes despite the warning. I am also creating carbon for station repairs and powering thermal inducers, irrelevant summon. Please stay close to your master. Wandering off and causing an accident would result in you being responsible for murdering everyone. Now, heroes, process the lengths of protein and quickly enjoy a hot meal before you get back to work. You sure are demanding, Lex said, putting her hands on her hips. I am optimizing! It took a few minutes of searching and further directions from the station itself, but the group located a row of square boxes like white plastic microwaves. Jack tried to access the terminal inducer, and a 2-slot system interface popped up. It was similar to the cooking interface he'd seen in the back of the Eye of the Storm, but this was far simpler. All he needed to do was deposit the raw items into the single input slot, and an orange flame icon flashed for 10 seconds before a new item appeared sitting in the output slot. Seared Skitter Kebab. Consumable, 1. Max HP plus 100 for 90 minutes. Ends on exit. Cannot exit. He moved the item to his hand and was both surprised. He moved the item to his hand and was both surprised to be holding an actual stick and tantalized by the savory smell piping from the partially charred alien meat. "Get your own out of the thing," Jack said, waving his free hand at the machines, distracted. Either the bugs they killed contained secret spices all their own, or it was added by the video game logic of Mother Sana. Regardless, he eagerly tore off a tender bite of seared meat. A few minutes later, everyone but Alt tore through their first tower-cooked consumable. "I can't believe I ate the whole thing. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. I can't believe I ate the whole thing," Ori said. Ori said, staring down at the empty stick in his hand. "And after such a big breakfast," Lex agreed, patting the armor over her stomach. Haylee let out a small grunt. "I don't believe these count as real food. Heroes never needed to eat in the dreamlike tower, so maybe these new consumables are akin to eating dreams." A tiny buzzing sound drew Jack's attention to the kebab stick vanishing from his fingers like a defeated enemy. "Wild," Ori said as his own stick vanished and then turned to the nearby steaming mug. "Can you not partake, Alt?" "Summoned monsters should not waste hero food," Ripwatch Rain answered from everywhere. "Unique ore and the arcane mandible yet remain within the chamber. Retrieve them, and I will both stabilize power and repair access to more dimensional pockets." Lex's uplifting chorus boosts the consumable to plus 115 max HP, Haylee said as they moved back to the jump hub. "I'm over 1,000 hit points for the first time in my life." Lex paused after stepping up onto the teleport anchor. Lex paused after stepping up onto the teleport anchor. Lex paused after stepping up onto the teleport. Lex paused after stepping up onto the teleport anchor. "Should we search the open destination labeled Monument or head straight back to the pocket chamber for those resources?" Jack rubbed his chin as he studied the extensive warehouse of pristine fantasy tech around him. Jack rubbed his chin as he studied the extensive warehouse of pristine fantasy tech around him. "We should scour this whole place for more of those trophy things we've found hidden around. Collectibles, consumables. Hate to say it, but these are very familiar concepts in games from my world." "Then we should play them as intended," their royal advisor answered firmly. If I may, Ori said, holding up a palm, and everyone turned to him. "The bug kebab bonus only lasts so long." Oh. "The bug kebab bonus only lasts so long. I'm still learning how to play. The bug kebab bonus only lasts so long. I'm still learning how to play my role in this story, so correct me if I misspeak, but wouldn't it make sense for us to face monsters with this extra HP time? Wouldn't it make sense for us to face monsters with this extra HP time instead of peeking for hidden artifacts? Wouldn't it make sense for us to face monsters with this extra HP time instead of peeking for hidden artifacts? Haylee locked her gray eyes on Ori's and smiled. Haylee locked her gray eyes on Ori's, and Haylee locked her gray eyes on Ori's and smiled, but the space station cut off her response. Mutiny would be counterproductive, yet. Mutiny would be counterproductive, but Glacial Warden Audibox should be the leader of this party. Jack rolled his eyes. Let's go get the ominous AI his dead god's spider fang. All right. There we go. That's the end of chapter 5. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So now we're on to chapter 6. Let's keep on going. Keep it going. Let's get some... Oh, yeah. Get some drink. All right, so 26 minutes in the first hour. That's pretty good. That's pretty much 1 for 2 on narration. Let me just check my... Oh... All right. Let us keep going to chapter 6. Chapter 6. The moldy mausoleum on the cliffs of Universe 2099.zrb consisted of a single... The moldy mausoleum on the cliffs of Universe 2099... The moldy mausoleum on the cliffs of Universe 2099.zrb consisted of a single stone sarcophagus with an alien skull resting on the lid and a carved stairway twisting into the damp dirt. Jack, Lex, and Ori could fit side by side as they moved down the rough-hewn steps in a line. Jack, Lex, and Ori could fit side by side as they moved down the rough-hewn steps in a line, but swinging their weapons would be impossible, so Jack kept his middle roll close to Haylee. And warm drink alt. Despite being underground... excuse me. Despite being underground, every dripping surface remained evenly lit, as if the futuristic chamber ignored the rules for light, among several other rules. There's no way that we aren't fighting that space station at the end of this, Jack whispered as they passed dozens of burial alcoves on each side of a long hallway. Can you think of any way to prepare? Haylee asked from the back, then turned to the hovering coffee mug by her side. Alt, do you have any insight on weaknesses? Well... The steam face swirled as he thought, and Jack's mental link with him also pulsed with a swirl of mixed emotions. I don't have enough information, but the power supply might be a good place to start. We don't have access to enough areas. Yet that might change. I would caution taking any solid action until we know more about many things, and all this assumes the station was telling the truth about not being able to hear us while in this chamber. We will cheese when the cheese is ripe, Lex said. Jack frowned. That's a new one. The Bastion cast a quick glance over her shoulder. No good? Sure. Do you guys even ripen cheese? Depends on the cheese, Ori answered. Some of the finest cheeses imported from Taiga Slopes spawn with up to a 2-hour timer. I'm pretty sure it took months to age cheddar where Alt and I came from, Jack said as the chiseled stairs faded into the odd footing of a natural cave system. Shapa cheese is aged for over a year. Shapa cheese. Damn it, Prax. Shapa cheese is aged for over a year, Alt added. Ori sent back a bright smile. That's a long wait for cheese. Movement, Haylee called out. Everyone focused forward on the dank tunnel ahead, and Jack now heard the clacking of many tiny claws, along with the distant drips of water. The sound stopped, and so did the group, letting whatever was out there come to them. The sound stopped, and so did the group, letting whatever was out there come to them. After a few moments, the skittering sound started again, but moving away. Then, silence. The group continued. It splits, he said. Oops. Lex said as they rounded a bend to find 2 ways deeper into the ground. Delicate plant life flourished in the area in the form of green grasses and thin vines, making visibility a problem. That way's clearer, Jack said, pointing to the path sloping down with less vegetation. Let's check what we can see first. Haylee, Alt, get into the middle while I cover our backs. We know there's something out there, so keep an eye open. Yes, Haylee agreed as she equipped her Star Chaser bow. And we must keep watch for iron-like ore chunks, 8 of them. Jack was about to make a comment about them being within yet another cave when the hairs on the back of his neck stood up from faint scraping echoing from behind. The blade called ARV Alternus leapt from its sheath as Jack whirled to see a fleshy pale spider the size of a tiger rearing up for an ambush. Pushing the limits of his 42% speed bonus, Jack continued the drawing motion of his sword to slice across the underside of the attacker's thorax. As soon as the blade bit into what appeared to be rows of flesh-covered ribs, he activated Double Strike. Tomb Spawn, minus 251, HP 748 out of 999. Minus 251, HP 497 out of 999. The many-limbed monstrosity was too close and already committed to its momentum. But Jack's quick reflexes turned what was no doubt a stealthy critical into a black But Jack's quick reflexes turned what was no doubt a stealthy critical into a black talon punching through his shoulder armor. Jack, minus 208, HP, 1.4 thousand, 1,400 out of 1,600. An agonizing burst of temporary pain lanced through his mind, but grit and experience allowed Jack to ignore it as he dropped to one knee and activated a mining laser into its face. A pure white thread of light appeared the moment his knees slammed. A pure white thread of light appeared the moment his knee slammed into the damp dirt of the cave, as Haylee took advantage of the empty space over his head. Tomb Spawn, minus 301, HP, 196 out of 999. Minus 526, defeated. Its 8 bird-like eyes rolled back as the fleshy spider curled up before it vanished in buzzing static. Then there was only the sound of distant dripping water once more. "Keep watch while I heal," Lex said to Ori before she moved to the back of the group to do her job. He kept his eyes on the gold coins. Jack kept his eyes on the gold coins she called irises, and let his wife's soft melody clear his mind. "Time for me to actually watch the back," Jack said when she was finished. "Let's move out, nice and slow." As the party twisted through the moss-covered caves, the path split 2 more times, and after the 3rd flesh-covered spider attacked from behind, the Queen joined her king to mitigate. And after the 3rd flesh-covered spider attacked from behind, the Queen joined her king to mitigate the damage, leaving Ori to lead forward and ever downward. More than one dead end stalled their progress as they explored the cave system, but it was in these stubby cavities they found multifaceted hunks of metal growing on the walls. Spider iron ore. Artifact. Value 0. Cannot exit. Floor 50. These look more like crystals than iron. Ooh. How we doing? Okay, we're 6 minutes into this chapter. Hello, everybody watching. Nice to have you here. Thank you for checking in on me, listening to all this stuff, all this, my voice. Gonna have some water to protect my voice. Please say hello if you're watching right now. I'd love to hear from you. Look at this. Oh, this water. Oh my God. This water is divine, I must say. There we go. Okay, so. They're just testing my peas. Oh, it's hot in this booth. It's hot. Holy moly. Oh. Tell me what you had for breakfast. What'd you have for breakfast? I had an apple loaf from a local coffee shop. It was delicious. It was very good. Jack said as he pulled the quest items into his inventory. Even though they only needed 8 to fulfill their task, and he couldn't leave without them, he harvested every deposit they found as they made their way through the evenly lit underground. This slice of physical reality pulled into the pocket chamber was only so big. Yet all the bends and looping paths made Jack feel as if they'd moved farther than they had. 2! Lex called out. "Ah, Prax has arrived. Hello, Prax Venter himself, the author of Irrelevant Jack! He's here on Facebook. Yes, if you have any questions for Mr. Prax Venter about this here book, please do not hesitate to ask. He loves answering questions, and sometimes his answers don't make much sense, but that's the point. Sometimes it's fun. You need someone who's going to throw a curveball at you. Like Praxy Boy. He'll do it. He'll throw curveballs. He'll be on your baseball team. Right, Praxy Boy? How you doing today? What'd you have for breakfast? Lex called out the pair of flesh-covered spiders. Lex called out as the pair of flesh-covered spiders came crawling at them again from the rear, and one of them was on the ceiling this time. Jack was about to omni-strike them both before they closed. The distance when Ori shouted from the front, "One up here!" Jack clenched his jaw and carried through with a double omni-strike on the two unsettling spiders with human flesh and bird eyes. Jack clenched his jaw and carried through with a double omni-strike on the two unsettling spiders with human flesh and bird eyes. The monsters scampering toward them flinched as he instantly cut their life points in half, and one of them died immediately after when the psychic warm drink triggered his innate ranged ability. With only one left on the backside, scurrying toward the stalwart bastion, Jack risked a look over his shoulder to see both Ori and Haylee assault their attacker with rapid damage jets and a light ray. Tombspawn, minus 108, HP 891 out of 999. Tombspawn, minus 108, HP 783 out of 999. Tombspawn, minus 526, HP 257 out of 999. Lex engaged the one remaining on their side. And Jack ignored the thud of its fangs thumping against her field. Her field? And Jack ignored the thud of its fangs thumping against her shield and continued watching their new teammate. Instead of keeping up his high-speed jet of water, the Glacial Warden spent 5 mana to activate Wave instead. The gallons of instant liquid dealt no damage, but the monster that had been moments from landing a fang now tumbled backward down the cave. Jack smiled. Haylee drew her Star Chaser again and erased it. Jack smiled. Haylee drew her Star Chaser again and erased it before it could even get its 8 disgusting legs under control. Satisfied, he turned to see his wife sheathe her sword into the basilic leather scabbard he'd bought for her in Angel Shade's tannery. Jack was thinking it used to be more enticing, watching her toned torso as she reached for the scabbard placed on her back, when an errant whiff. Jack was thinking it used to be more enticing, watching her toned torso as she reached for the scabbard placed on her back, when an errant whiff of intense jealousy blew through his mind, coming from Alt. His brows came down as he turned to see that the steamy face rising from the mug was not looking at him, but instead fixated on Haylee and Ori, staring into each other's eyes after their victory. The AI spun to face him and initiated a light-speed conversation. "You weren't intended to notice that. I love her, Jack, in ways that I'm non-biological and can safely say I've never truly experienced visceral human love. Yet there's no denying the fact that I've grown more complex as a result of not only twining my mind to your robust human algorithms, but also from living through you. Feeling your love for Lex, feeling her love for you. I've unwillingly grown core processing pathways that never existed before I met you. Or Haylee. Jack took a microsecond to process what his friend was saying, then brushed the whole idea aside. Then brushed the whole idea aside by sending back the concept of Haylee being too young for anyone anyway. Your mind is coming from a sexual place, Jack, and that's not even... Mates are chosen earlier here. The NPCs of this subroutine behave closer to how things were in the Middle Ages, and she's nearly 17. Additionally, we both know she is probably more mature than you. Despite how fast Alt was pumping his thoughts and feelings through their mental tether, he was conveying a lot, and they were about to reach the point where both Haylee and Lex would deduce they were having a private conversation. "Nice work, everyone," Jack said quickly. "Take us forward, Ori." The Glacial Warden gave Jack a confident nod, sent a charismatic smirk to the dark prism, and then continued moving them deeper into this bizarre Floor 50. "Thank you," Alt whispered telepathically as they all moved out. "All right, little break time. Oh, Prax is a curvy boy. Curvy. Breakfast and leftover pizza. Yum. Oh, leftover pizza's delicious. Though I had a dream about free pizza last night that some college students made for their class, and it was absolutely disgusting, and I woke up feeling kind of nauseous. So I hope it wasn't that pizza. But cool, man. If you're watching right now, I want to know what you had for breakfast. What did you eat? Simple question. I don't just want to know. I need to know. Tell me. I want to know. Can you tell me? I want to know today. Take me to the river. Drop me in the water. Take me to the river. Drop me in the... We used to have a toy growing up called that you put on a wall. It's called Big Mouth Billy Bass. It was essentially a plastic bass that it's on a plaque and you put it up. It's a largemouth bass. And you put it up on a wall and there's a little button. You press it and it will start singing a song, and the mouth, it's got a mechanism inside that the mouth would also move. And then it would sing it would sing a song, and it would also like flip out to like sing to you. So it's like on the wall like a normal fish, and then all of a sudden it would turn towards you and it'd go back. So it would sing that song, and then take me to the water, take me to the river, drop me in the water. And what was the other song it had? Oh yeah, of course. Don't Worry, Be Happy by Bob Marley. Not Bob Marley. No, by, what's his name? Bobby McFerrin. Don't worry. Be happy. What did I have for breakfast? I had coffee and a apple loaf. And for those of you listening, you already know what I had for breakfast, so I'm repeating myself, but it's important to me that Prax knows what I had for breakfast. And it was quite delicious. And momentarily, I believe my partner will be making a quiche for me that she made the other day, and it's quite delicious. And I helped making it. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Jack sent back an image of him putting a framed picture of Haylee on the top of a bookshelf. He'd be there for his crush-sick friend later, but now they had to focus on staying alive long enough for all this to matter. The steaming coffee mug agreed, and wordlessly hovered alongside the dark prism as they continued delousing the cave system. More pincer attacks came at them through dripping vines from around sharp bends. More pincer attacks came at them through dripping vines and from around sharp bends, but they had the flow down now, and nothing stopped them from reaching the bottom of the corkscrew cave system. "This has to be the boss chamber," Jack said as they all stood in a row in front of a huge hollowed-out area that looked perfect for religious rituals. A shallow, man-made basin of water took up most of the 40-yard space, while rusting sculptures of spiders crouched along both sides, and a stone altar sat at the far end of the subterranean pool. "Yet there's no exit orb," Lex said, her hand resting on her hilt as she stepped into the center of the pool and scanned the area. Haylee took a few steps past her and pointed to the altar. "That glowing object must be the mandible we seek. But if the station itself is the final boss of this floor, we wouldn't see an orb here, as it's not the true boss chamber." "Makes sense," Jack said, then turned the other way to find a naturally formed hole mostly obscured by lush vines leading outside. He moved toward it as he continued to study the layout. "We aren't wrestling with a spider god right now, so grabbing that floating thing on the altar probably triggers the fight. My wave's pushback is less effective in existing liquid," Ori said as he followed Haylee through the shallow pool toward the altar. Jack stored that information as he vaulted up onto a ledge just before the natural opening in the dirt and stone at the opposite side. He had to hack a few vines out of the way, but quickly revealed the still body of water at the bottom of the chamber. What might be a massive lake ended abruptly at the familiar white wall that designated the extent of this slice of virtual reality. What might be a massive lake ended abruptly at the familiar white wall that designated the extent of this slice of virtual reality. "Technically," Alt said in his mind, "you're in this transplanted pocket dimension nestled inside a floor of the tower, which itself is within the encompassing subroutine surrounded by physical reality. You are witnessing virtual reality." Jack acknowledged the nonsense and continued inspecting this potential escape route. There was always the cave system. There was always the cave system they used to get down to this point, but a mad dash back up through that maze could end with someone getting lost, running into a dead end, or even more tomb crawlers. Above him, the vertical dirt cliff shot up and flared outward, giving plenty of places for leafy vines to find purchase. Hundreds of thick plants hung all the way to the water. He tugged one of the thicker vines and grunted with surprised approval. This ropey vegetation could hold his weight. Probably Ori's, too. Maybe how we're meant to get back up to the top after the boss fight? He muttered to himself. There was the fact that their quest wasn't over before turning in the ore. There was the fact that their quest wasn't over before turning in the ore. There was the fact that their quest wasn't over before turning in the ore and Mandible to the space station, and this whole nested reality was all still part of the same Floor 50. Were there 2 boss fights? Anything was possible. The eerily still depths an inch from his boots reminded him of standing by the edge of the deep end at the community pool where he spent countless hours killing time while his father swam laps. The eerily still depths an inch from his boots reminded him of standing by the edge of the deep end at the community pool where he spent countless hours killing time while his father swam laps. The unforgettable chlorine smell of his childhood was now a fresh, earthy scent from the moss and flourishing plants. The unforgettable chlorine smell of his childhood was now a fresh, earthy scent from the moss, and the unforgettable chlorine smell of his childhood was now a fresh, earthy scent from the moss and flourishing plants around him. And although he could see some of the flat white walls at the high-tech chamber, the water became totally opaque with depth. The chamber's bottom had to be down there somewhere, though. Looking left and right, he contemplated the dirt ledge eating away. Looking left and right, he contemplated the dirt ledge eaten away from erosion and began forming their battle plan. King Jack turned and moved the few steps back into the boss chamber. Haylee, Alt, he began as he hooked his thumb over his shoulder. Get your butts up in this exit hole. You can both use ranged attacks, then hide outside the cave if you need to cover or lose some generated threat. Excellent, the Dark Prism said as she and the hovering ceramic mug passed him to reach their positions. Ori, Lex, he continued, get out of the water and stand between their hole and the edge of the pool. My educated guess is the thing will spawn in the middle of this obvious arena. You don't have much room behind you, and we have no idea how big the boss will be. But I want you to let it come out and then push it back with waves, if you can, while the ranged attackers whittle it down. Understood, the Glacial Warden said as he moved into position. I'll grab the artifact, and when it shows its spider god face, Lex shout at it while I blast its backside. Hopefully we can bounce it between our own pincer attack, but if I get into trouble, I'll just pop behind you with a TP and join the ranged attackers with my laser. Hello, Ricky Monroe. Welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day. What did you have for breakfast? What did you eat? What did you consume to give your body sustenance? Ba-ba-ba-ba. I think that's supposed to be Jack, right? I'll grab the artifact, and when it shows its spider god face, Lex, shout at it while I blast its backside. Yeah, I think that's Jack, because Ori does not have teleport abilities. He finished laying out his strategy as he stepped up to the stone altar at the back of the hollowed-out cave, and the glowing object they sought hovered an inch off the stone surface. It looked more like a large bone fang. Jack inspected it before doing anything. Mandible of Lot. Dagger. Value 1,000. Cursed. Floor 50. Damage 75. Hit chance plus 0.25. Crit chance plus 0.4. Max HP minus 440. Max MP minus 40. Assassin. Class abilities times 3 damage. Must defeat 1,000 bosses before unequipping. We strike from behind. We strike first. We slake my hunger. Excuse me. Jack grinned at the info panel. Jack grinned at the info panel. Jack grinned at the info panel. It wasn't a useless artifact at all, and he'd never seen a cursed item before. Assassins like Farah already dealt massive burst damage with their ambush ability, and this thing tripled it. The HP handicap didn't seem worth the damage. Though. He shrugged. It was cursed, after all. Not wanting to distract everyone right now, Jack kept the information to himself and turned to check his team's positions. Ori and Lex stood apart near the other end of the pool, while Haylee and Alt waited. Half covered by the cave's back exit. Ready? Anyone have any better ideas? They were and didn't. So Jack turned around and pulled the cursed Mandible of Lot into his near-infinite inventory. He spun back around as he drew his sword and braced himself for a smooth boss battle, but only the distant drops of water echoed to them from the cave network that led them here. A few heartbeats passed, with everyone shifting their eyes around the well-lit chamber, but not even the spider sculptures twitched. Jack frowned. I guess you were right, Haylee. There isn't any... The words boss to fight here died on his lips when something huge and pale moved outside the cave. Behind! He screamed, and watched in horror as a massive human hand clawed through the wall where the young dark prism stood. Haylee, minus 800, HP, 304 out of 1,104. Chunks of loose dirt and stone rained down on Lex and Ori, dealing a few hundred damage to each. Jack ignored them and sprinted through the shallow basin. Alt screamed Haylee's name both audibly and telepathically as Jack vaulted over the wreckage and through the raining dirt to see the rest of the nightmare sea creature rising out of the water. The thing was 3 stories high, with long crab-like legs that each ended in gargantuan human hands. Its central body was a sack of mostly eyes and flesh. But he didn't see Haylee anywhere. Under! Alt vibrated Jack's physical brain with the force of his telepathy. Alt vibrated Jack's physical brain with the force of his telepathy, and Jack glanced down to see the flowing gray robes of his royal advisor still wrapped in the giant fist pulling her to the bottom of the chamber. Haylee, -100, HP 204 out of 1,104. The very much alive ancient spider god moved one of its other blizzard? The very much alive ancient spider god moved one of its other bizarre hands to grab Jack, too. But since its pale limbs were so long, he saw it coming. Instead of dodging, he locked his gaze on Haylee's struggling, murky form and teleported deep into the water. Into the water. Pressure instantly squeezed his skull, but Jack didn't really notice. Her huge gray eyes pleaded with him as she writhed to get free, and he shifted his focus to the skin-covered fist clenched around her form, the neck down. His heart pounded in his ears as he scanned for some way to free her, when he noticed the black fingernails at the ends of its thick fingers. Making a snap decision, he grabbed Haylee's collar for leverage as she shoved. He grabbed Haylee's collar for leverage and shoved the tip of his blade under its. He grabbed Haylee's collar for leverage and shoved the tip of his blade under its huge thumbnail, then activated his mining laser. Floor 50 boss. Floor 50 boss. Critical. -401. HP. 4,000 out of 4.4. 4,000 out of 4,400. Haylee, -100. HP, 104 out of 1,104. Chaos ruled as the abomination reared back and let out a terrible roar, muted by the gallons of water between them. Both heroes were free, and although Jack still held a fistful of her cloth armor, they swirled in the violent wake of its damaged hand as it pulled away. Following the bubbles, Jack kicked out his legs and pulled the dark prism up toward the light, where they both broke the surface, gasping for air. The bizarre monstrosity was currently focused on Aether Mist Lex, standing impervious. The bizarre monstrosity was currently focused on Aether Mist Lex, standing impervious against repeated fists aiming to pulverize her. The Glacial Warden held a hand up with a jet. The Glacial Warden held a hand up with a jet of water to whittle the boss's life away, but not really doing any. But not really doing anything meaningful. While Alt kept up. But not really doing any meaningful. There's a line here that's, the Glacial Warden held a hand up with a jet of water to whittle the boss's life away, but not really doing any meaningful, while Alt kept up his psychic damage over time. Is that supposed to be any meaningful damage? Or is it supposed to be, but not really doing anything meaningful? Anything meaningful or meaningful damage? I think that's where you're going with it. But not really doing any meaningful damage. But not really doing anything meaningful, while Alt kept up his psychic damage over time. It wasn't going to be enough. It wasn't going to be enough. What do we do? Haylee. Haylee cried out next to him as they both treaded water near the back of the chamber, and Jack responded by commandeering some of Alt's processing power to augment his mind against the infinite angles of their situation. There was no way to swim around. There was no way to swim around. There was no way to swim around the massive 8-armed horror without getting stuck or pulling its focus. Jack could use his abilities. Jack could use his abilities, but Haylee was totally useless treading water, and with Lex's mist form ending soon, either of them drawing its attention in this horrible location would likely result in drowning death for several people. They needed to get back to solid ground. Solid ground, Jack finished out loud with a whisper. Jack finished out loud with a whisper, then shouted to Ori, "Ice platform, now!" The young hero stopped the high-pressure hose and crouched against the cliffside as he reached a glowing blue hand out toward the floating pair. A flat square of ice spread across the water, and Jack grabbed the scruff of Haylee's neck once more as he shoved her onto its surface. "Rejecting whispers!" "Rejecting whispers," King Jack commanded. King Jack commanded. Dripping wet and almost dead, the dark prism narrowed her large eyes at the floor 50 boss and muttered, "How dare you?" Jack ignored the screeching ancient alien god as its many eyes were forced. Jack ignored the screeching ancient alien god as its many eyes were forced to face the pristine chamber wall. He also ignored its pounding fists as it vented its frustration on the super-tech space station. Instead, he grabbed the edge of the mini glacier and used his legs to ferry Haylee back to the others as she crouched motionless with her hate-filled glowing eyes recasting rejecting whispers until they had made it. Whoop! Whoop, bloop, bloop. Let me try that again. Instead, he grabbed the edge of the mini glacier and used his legs to ferry Haylee back to the others as she crouched motionless. As she crouched motionless with her hate-filled glowing eyes recasting rejecting whispers until they made it back. "Retreat to the caves!" Jack shouted to be heard over the bellowing boss, and it turned to pound the cliffside the moment Haylee broke her line of sight. Dirt rained down on the group as the ground shook. Dirt rained down on the group as the ground shook under the spider god's 8 fists of wrath. After scurrying deeper toward the other side of the chamber to put as much physical matter between them and it, they stopped in a stable-looking dead end for Lex to bring Haylee back from the edge of death. That was too close. That was too close, Ori said as he caught his breath, then turned to Jack. How do we face that madness? Jack raced through his thoughts out loud as loose dirt sprinkled down on them. Lex's mist form is spent for this floor, and my teleport needs to recharge. We could try a hit and run approach, but the way the 8 hands of Lot tear through the ground, we'd probably die in a cave-in. Puzzling out a reliable tower drop structure would make way too much time, and I'm pretty sure that thing pounding way up there would just pick it up and toss it into the water. And those stone ruins on the cliff's edge wouldn't hold it back either. Wait. Need some more water? All right. And then a solution hit him. And then a solution hit him as the party's healer finished her song. And then a solution hit him. And then a solution hit him as the party's healer finished her song. And then a solution hit him. And then a solution hit him. Oof. And then a solution hit him as the party's healer finished her song. "Listen up," he continued when they were ready to move again. "We're going to hightail it out of the chamber back into the station where the thing allegedly can't follow us through the arch and force field. If it works, we can take all the time we need to reassess our options. If not, we have a solid choke point to make a stand." His wife grabbed his shoulder and nodded, projecting her unending support. "Good plan. Calculating shortest route. Calculating shortest route," Warm Drink Alt said. Warm Drink Alt said as he sloshed away from them back up through the labyrinthine cave. Warm Drink Alt said as he sloshed away from them back up through the labyrinthine cave system. Back up through the labyrinthine cave system. And what was that, 7? 6. All right, that's the end of chapter 6. There we go. So let's see, how'd I do? We got about... So this chapter was 16 minutes. Chapter 5 was 25 minutes. Oh, sorry, so 26 and 25. So 51 minutes, 2 hours, not too bad. That's pretty good. I gotta wrap it here, guys. My voice is in need of a break, and my body is in need of sustenance. So I'm gonna go get some food. In the meantime, thank you very much for spending time with me today. Prax, of course, as always, thank you for writing wonderful content. Relevant Jack 6 to be available in the coming months. Stay tuned. This is my last cold read. So if you would like to hear the cold reads in just audio format, I guess, if you want to catch up, if you're just tuning in now, all of these cold reads are going to be available for a temporary period of time on the Soundbooth Theater platform. www.soundbooththeater.com. All of it's for free. It's got all, warts and all. It's got all of my commentary and audio struggles and stuff. So obviously it isn't the finished product, but if you feel like listening to my voice for a couple hours and getting introduced to the audio of Irrelevant Jack 6, then I highly recommend you check it out. It's free. It's going to be available, I think, on the 25th or something like that. So keep your eyes peeled on the Soundbooth Theater Facebook group. We'll announce it there. And that is that. Once again, thank you all for joining. I hope to see you again soon. I'm going to be continuing to stream this, but not on YouTube. I'm going to be streaming it on my Discord, on the Soundbooth Theater Discord. Links should be in the comment, but if you can't find them, I'm sure you can go to the Soundbooth Theater Facebook page and find it there. Sorry, links should be in the description. I think I said links should be in the Discord. That doesn't make sense. Links in the description to the Discord. And if you can't find them there, Soundbooth Theater Live Facebook group, you can tag me or Jeff or anybody and we'll let you in. Without further ado, people don't really say without further ado when they're leaving, but without further ado, I'm leaving. Thank you again, and I hope you have fantastic, wonderful days, each and every one of you. Until next time, ciao, ciao.